And again, I love educating, people coming in fresh into this industry, being able to work with them. We time is something we all only have so much of, and that can be difficult. But I think financial literacy is so important, and you don't have to have a lot of units. If you can get a few and start at that step, you're going to get the bug and want to do more. But to educate them on taking that first step to financial freedom through real estate, even if it's on their own, with 1 or 2 rentals, is important and can be life-changing for them.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Mike Strodtman. He's the founder and president of Blue Skies Equity. Been investing in real estate since 2009. Passion for real estate developed during graduate school and a master's in urban and regional studies. He started his career as a city planner, and he's going to talk about that today and really how that's helped them, I think, in a number of ways. But he figured out, hey, he's on the wrong side of the table. And he's going to tell you about, why that is. He's going to share some tips about working with a city planner that I know if you are looking at developing anything, a piece of land or building or changing anything about it, that's going to be helpful for you. And even before that, he's going to talk about some ways that they are connecting with investors and educating their investors to be able to raise more money, but also just have a more educated investor base. And that's going to help you whether you're active or passive. Mike, welcome to the show. Honored to have you on. I know you and I connected years ago, I think, and honored to connect here again and talk about, some of your skill sets that I know are going to help the listeners today, and maybe even some ways you all are pivoting in your real estate business that I think are maybe wise and maybe a way to do some deals. So looking forward to the conversation. Mike, what were you doing before real estate, and why transition into commercial real estate?
Yeah, thank you, Whitney. Like you said, it has been a 5 or 6 years since we saw each other at the last real estate conference, but look forward to seeing you at some here in the near future. But prior to real estate, I was a city planner. So I always enjoyed city planning. I ended up going to grad school and wanted to be a city planner so I could be involved in all aspects of development. But you quickly realize that you are on the wrong side of the table at that point. It's great working with developers, seeing what they're working on, but when you actually want to be in and around it and doing it, you realize that you are on the wrong side of that table. So 2009 began buying real estate. Did what a lot of people started doing, the single family, small multis, and it was great. Set a goal, as you hear a lot early on, you buy 10 and get them paid off, and you can be financially free. But, it didn't take long to blow through that goal a couple of times. So pivoted to multifamily real estate, and also looking at industrial properties now too. So with everything that's kind of going on in the market, we've been starting to look at industrial properties.
Yeah, no doubt. I want us to talk about that a little bit, and maybe about the pivot there and that decision. But I know right now, it is a difficult time to raise capital, right? Or more difficult. I keep hearing it from a number of operators, right? Especially if they have deals or funds right now. It's like, man, it's slower, than ever. And it's a way that you all have, or you've recently done well at, or in growing. And so let's dive into that a little bit and speak of, about how you all have been successful with that recently, and some tactics, right, that the listeners could put in place as well.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. It has been difficult. There's a number of people raising money right now, and what they thought they could raise or had been raising in the past has definitely changed to what they're able to do today. You see a lot more teams coming together to raise capital. For us, it's amazing the number of people you talk to, and they ask what you do, and you explain it to them, and they haven't heard of that. They don't, and they also wonder why they haven't been educated and brought up to speed as to the ability to invest in real estate and utilizing a self-directed IRA. So we have really been working hard at being able to put out content and information about educating them on what is it how can we do this? How do you do this? What is a GPLP? And then accredited and sophisticated. And what does that mean? And I don't know. So just continually providing information to them about the various aspects of a syndication and how it all works, and their ability to look outside of a traditional investments that we've all been educated on, but to educate them on other opportunities that are out there that we really don't see. You're not going to read in the newspaper. So we've been putting together a lot of content, emailing out. We've also been doing some webinars and having people join us and watch them, and we record them. So even if people aren't able to be there for that live webinar and ask questions right there, we do have the ability to record it and put that out for them so they can get that series. And it's just going to be breaking down the various aspects so that they can go back and watch and rewatch, and then do some additional looking on their own, but to give them the basics and the high level 30,000 foot view of syndications and what is possible.
Yeah, no, I love that, because if people are confused, right, their answer is going to be no.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not going to invest if they're not pretty confident, right? In what they're investing, or at least have some, at least a basic understanding, right? And are more times than not. Could you elaborate maybe on what some of the topics are that you all are doing webinars on? And I think even the listeners, as they are trying to raise money, sometimes it can feel difficult to think of these things, or even, we think, well, everybody knows what this is, and it's not really the case. Right. Often. And so maybe just elaborate on some of the topics you all are focusing on to educate your investors around.
Yeah. We're going to start off with, 101 basics of breaking down a syndication, and started off with what is a syndication, talking about, the pooling of resources, both the funds and the team to be able to look at the different markets, talk about asset management, the financing, just all the pieces that go into putting together a good syndication, and that it is a team effort. How can they invest? Are there tax advantages? Obviously, that's going to vary person to person and situation to situation, but to have them look and think of it that way. Even talking to the people that are doing real estate on their own, maybe they're doing smaller items and things on their own, but the ways for them to be able to reframe it and look at tax advantages. For example, cost segregation. If they're doing something large enough that qualifies for cost segregation, how powerful that can be for them too. And then breaking down the returns. Sometimes they want to know what is your business plan? Is this a 5-year hold or a lot of times I think, well, if I'm investing in this is forever, correct? And not always the case. Some syndicators will structure it and it'll be a long-term hold. And there are investors that want that. They're not worried about, every 5 years having to find a new deal or sponsor to invest in. But the next ones want to be able to turn that money over. So just kind of talking about all those aspects of it. And then, obviously talking about the risks that are in real estate. There's obviously a risk in anything, and real estate is not void of that. But the track record and explaining the track record of real estate and how it's been successful for years.
Yeah, no, those are some great topics there just to think through there. I think, any of us that are working with investors, it can be so beneficial to create a library like you're talking about. And so are these, these webinars, would you say it's like a 5-minute conversation or it's like a 35 or an hour, long conversation? How do you all normally structure that?
Yeah, they're typically about 45 minutes. We want to keep them, provide enough content within them, but then keep them short enough too. So yeah, like the breaking down, the first one we're going to do, that's actually going to be this week. And then we'll do a few more after that, but they'll be about 45 minutes. But also talking about, like, another one will be market selection. Why do you choose a market or a neighborhood over another neighborhood, and the importance of the boots on the ground and knowing that neighborhood, knowing the market, job growth, crime, etc. and the importance of all that before, just buying something in any location.
How do you, or what kind of response have you received, maybe already? I know your first one's this week, or maybe how do you plan to track responses, or what does that look like, or maybe a system you all use?
Yeah, so the response has been good. Yeah, and the reason they all came out, or we thought about this, was uh, because of conversations that I've had with investors that have contacted me. They said, "Hey, Mike, I know what you do in real estate, and we want to be involved, but we don't know anything about this. So are you?" And the one-on-one phone calls, which are great. I love it. I love taking the time and explaining it with them, but wanting to make a larger reach. And like you said, having that library so someone can always go back, definitely take the time to meet with them and talk with them, but also to be able to give them the recordings for that. And yeah, we definitely track through our CRM the number of interested people in there. We try to get it posted on Facebook and LinkedIn of these upcoming webinars. But with everybody's having a busy life, the ability to choose 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. at a certain day doesn't always work. So we just felt that having that webinar, and if they sign up for that webinar, we'll definitely be able to send them all the recordings for it.
What CRM are you all using?
We use ActiveCampaign, and I've enjoyed that for the ability to tag them where we can see when they come in that they are interested in learning more about syndications, and to make sure that we're able to provide them a lot of content, both webinar and just written material that's created. We also have on our website, the ultimate guide to investing in syndication, where they can begin. If I see that they're interested in real estate and wanting to get educated on it, just that we can continue to foster that relationship and give them the knowledge and the know-how how to look at that as a alternative investment.
Would you think that these webinars would be better for, like lead generation, so like new investor, gaining new contacts, or maybe converting, maybe both, I'm sure. But I don't know, is there a specific focus or a way you all are using it?
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's almost like a 50-50 for us. A lot of us, or a lot of the people that I know and in our CRM, are still wanting to learn and know about what a syndication is, but also lead generation. Obviously, always wanting to bring more people into the funnel to learn more about it, see what we're up to. But again, education. I love educating.
Yeah. A lot of that, I think, comes back to knowing your investors, knowing your investor avatar too. What do you know about your investor base, and like tracking that in a way. And, we try to encourage our team, and it's a growing thing all the time. It's like, what can we be asking investors on all those calls, right? That we can learn more, right? So we can know how to better target marketing, materials, or just add more value to them, to educate them like you're talking about, but also to be able to gain more investors, right? Or new lead gen stuff that we can use this information to know how to focus on finding more, more investors, because often you may not have another call with that investor for a long time,
Right.
And so it's helpful to be thinking about that, even up front. Or have you all done any kind of survey or anything to say, to learn more about your investors or anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of the surveys that we have done is kind of talk to them to see what their investment wants and needs are, how long they would like for their, for a product for a hold period, to see if they're in that 5 to 7 long-term hold. Also wanting to see, obviously, if they're accredited or non-accredited, and definitely wanting to know if there's a specific if they have a comfort zone with multifamily, or if it's an industrial, if they have an idea of where they want to invest their money. Maybe it's because of the education they already have and the knowledge they already have on that. So those are kind of the keys that we look at for surveying.
Nice. No, it's awesome. A lot of people have never surveyed their investors, and I would encourage people to be thoughtful about it, because you may only get one chance for a while, right? You don't want to do it too often or expect some kind of response, but it can be Very helpful, no doubt about it. What about let's pivot a little bit and talk about how you all have pivoted. I want to have a few minutes for you to talk about. You're all were very focused on multifamily, but now you have a focus on flex use industrial, as well. And so talk through that transition of thinking, right, a little bit, and maybe why that asset class.
Yeah, as we've all seen, the multifamily is facing some challenges, not everywhere, but looking at the cost of the product for interest rates, it's been a lot harder, for sellers to recognize, the difference in interest rates today and their what they're wanting to get for their property at sale. So after underwriting and not finding too many deals, I was able to meet with an individual that does flex space industrial, and we talked about it at length. We have been for quite some time, and the amount of need that's out there for that right now is kind of underserved. There's the occupancy rate's very high, and even some people that I know that rent in that space talking about the difficulty of finding something they need, in a location, the size that they need, and the niche for something that's 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 square feet. Maybe it's 13 they need, but having multiple tenants, same building, and fitting the box that they need for that. And with that need, definitely did a lot of research, and the individuals that we've been working with have been doing it for a while. And with that, being able to buy these properties day one, as we always want to do, cash flowing, but then being able to look at the value add that we can do there, and the need that's there. If depending on the previous owner, if they just had regular standard leases, trying to convert them over some time to double or triple net leases when available, definitely looking at that. And then the ability to provide additional income. We just like for multifamily, we need to find a way to drive the NOI. But in certain situations where we can find a building on a piece of land where there's opportunity to build additional space, that's been great, in bringing up that NOI for that. Another one is like billboard. That's been another space too. Is there an opportunity with this location that there's desired billboard space, and being able to put a billboard up on the corner of the property, wherever it might be, to help drive that NOI.
Awesome. Yeah, that's getting creative for sure. Or outside of the multifamily box, right? That a lot of us often get stuck in, I think. But speak to educating yourself on a different asset class, or did you bring the skill set on the team, that somebody else has already been in that space, or did you all just learn somehow and dive in yourself? What did that look like?
Yeah. So the importance there is, whenever you're going to switch or look at a different asset class, that you partner with individuals that have experience, knowledge, and have done it before. It definitely shortens your learning curve, and it's important for all of us. So for me, the opportunity is to, when we're looking at building additional square feet, is that opportunity of with my background of being a city planner and working with the city, looking at their ordinances, looking at all the requirements, being able to talk that same language with the city planner as to what they're going to need, and coordinating that, with an architect or with an engineering firm to see what additional square footage we can put on that property. So that's what's been great. Obviously, being able to raise some capital to help with that, but then being able to bring asset management, and then the ability to work with the city when it comes time to even for a billboard. A lot of times, you can apply, or you want to look to do that. They may require a conditional use permit. Well, being through that a lot, again, on the other side of the table, being able to see what the requirements are, if it can be electronic or if it needs to be just your regular standard billboards, I will say. But yeah, all the requirements, size requirements, setback requirements, and being able to work with and help on that side of things.
Give us just a tip or two on working with a city planner or working with the city. Maybe some, from being on the other side of the table, right? Give us a couple of things that, hey, developers or, real estate guys make this mistake all the time. They should never say this, or they should do this, or have this prepared, or what would you say?
Number one is being in their office on day one. You need to, before you get too far down the road, go to the city and make sure it's going to work. To go back to the planning days, I can't tell you the number of times a realtor into my office and say, so and so just bought this property and they're going to, and you have to look at them and say, that is not an allowable use here. Well, I looked at the county and on their tax statement, it says 1 to 4 units. So they can have 4 units here. No, that's a tax classification. That's not the zoning. This is a single family zoned area. So work with the city right up front. The majority of the time, they're there to help you. They want to see the city grow. But they have an ordinance to follow. So just make sure that what you want to do is allowable for where you are. And then keep them along on the entire process. There's nothing worse than not hearing from them for, say 30 or 60 days. They come into the plans and say, here's my permit or here's my application. We're ready to go to the planning commission. And it's like, oh, we've got a few steps we need to work out here. So carry them along, be involved with them, let them be involved. And then if you do need to go to the planning commission and get approval through the planning and zoning board, make sure you always ask the zoning administrator if he or she foresees any issue with this becoming approved, so that when you go into that meeting, you're not going to be derailed, by the zoning administrator on that project. Granted, there's different nuances that can happen at any public meeting, but at least to have the backing of the city staff.
Yeah, well, that's some very helpful tips there, no doubt about it. Be in the office on day one. I think that's so wise. Don't make assumptions about what you think you can do with a piece of land or building, right? Yes. Wow. Well, Mike, what about any predictions that you might have for the real estate market over the next 6 to 12 months and how that's affecting, the decisions you all are making?
Yeah, as I mentioned, looking at multifamily, sadly, I think there's going to be some issues, some headwinds for that for some individuals. I hope they're all able to get through that. So as I mentioned, just kind of putting a pause on that, with interest rates where they are, it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I don't foresee there being any major changes, in the near future. But again, all things will change at some point. But, in the short term, I think the interest rate market that we have will be here to stay. I think prices, as they already have, will be coming down on these assets as these sellers realize, how the interest rates really change your ability to purchase and that purchase price. But with any cycle, there will always be market. There will always be opportunities, and we just need to be consistent and continue to look for opportunities that are out there, because there will be.
And consider pivoting.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's right. You know, and form those relationship and partnerships so that you've got people to pivot with. It's huge.
What's your best source for meeting new investors right now?
Yeah, that is a tough one. Definitely being able to get out there and meet people, taking in conferences as they come along and being able to do that. But for me, I want to find a better way to reach people, to educate them, to find those that do not know about real estate and to teach them. Not that they need to. Investing in real estate is not for all of us, but just to educate them on what the opportunity that there is. So anytime, and if I would love to hear from others too about being able to find that group of individuals that don't know, and how we can reach them. I'd like to get better at that myself.
What's your best advice for passive investors or LPs right now?
Definitely, you need to know, like, and trust them. There's things that can happen in markets that are out of our control, but being able to know, like, and trust them, and to have them at a phone call, when an issue arises, and being able to talk to them is important. So it is definitely time commitment on our part to be able to do that. But we are stewards of their money. We have a responsibility to take care of that, and I feel it's very important for them to first know you. And if you get to know, like, and trust that individual, it just gives you a lot more sense of security.
What's the most important metrics that you track? Could be personally or professionally.
Yeah, I definitely am always wanting to look at the P&L and making sure that all of our projects are doing well. But one thing that I've really gone to focus on, probably going back, I think it's been about 5 years now, is I've always wanted to make sure that I work out, and that's sometimes it's easy for that to fall off onto the back burner. And so what I did is I started tracking that hard. Every time I work out, I write it down. I put down the day, I put down what I did. And at the end of the year, I track all that. So it makes me more accountable for how many days a week that I actually truly do work out, what I did. And I go back and I look year to year to make sure that I'm meeting my goals. And if I'm not meeting my goals, I set reminders on my calendar to make sure that I'm making time for that, because without our health, we have nothing.
Do you have somebody else that helps hold you accountable for that?
I don't. I do it on my own. I had talked to an individual. We were going to be accountability partners on that. Sadly, well, that's a long story of how we started, but it kind of fell through. But no, my accountability for myself is having my log, and I look at that. Having it wrote down, I have no excuse to say, well, maybe I did work out that. So no, it's wrote down, it's tracked, and I go back every week. And if I miss that week, this last week or one time, then this coming week, we're going to hit it harder. And I just make sure, keep myself accountable.
Good for you. Mike, how do you like to give back?
On a couple different folds. And this is something that I'm focusing for and already looking at my goals for 2024, how to strengthen. But, here for our community, we have a lot of people that could use some help. We have opportunities at schools, where there's events going on or whatever else. And, if they need a T-shirt or need something special for an activity, to be able to give some money, we always can send extra money and buy kids their items. I enjoy doing that. When I think of our police department and the ability to give bears for them to have in their vehicles, I need to do that again here before 2023 ends. But I like that, where they're able to go into a bad situation, provide kids with a bear or stuffed animal, something that they can hold on to while that situation arises. So I like doing that. And again, I love educating, people coming in fresh into this industry, being able to work with them. Time is something we all only have so much of, and that can be difficult. But I think financial literacy is so important, and you don't have to have a lot of units. If you can get a few and start at that step, you're going to get the bug and want to do more. But to educate them on taking that first step of financial freedom through real estate, even if it's on their own, with one or two rentals, is important and can be life-changing for them.
No doubt about it. Mike, grateful for your time today and to connect again. Always a pleasure. I appreciate you just sharing some of your tactics on how you all are going to raise more money by investing the time to educate, right? And you're really helping, those investors, even if they don't invest with you, they're going to learn a lot, hopefully, and understand, our business, our industry a lot better, and be better prepared to make better investments for sure. So grateful for you sharing that, even your thought process, pivoting, right, to a different asset class and diving in there as well. Mike, how can the listeners get in touch with you and learn more about you and those webinars?
Yeah, thank you, Whitney. So yeah, you can find me at blueskiesequity.com or Mike Strodtman on LinkedIn, Facebook. definitely reach out there. And I love to give my phone number. My phone number is 218-255-5651. And please call. I remember listening to podcasts for 10, 15 years now, whatever, as long as they've been out, and taking advantage of people, left their phone number, and a number of times that they said, nobody called me. I've left, you're the only one to call me. So I love talking real estate. I love being able to help out, and please reach out throughout any of those means, and I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.